Social media superstar, the renowned content creator, the serial risk taker, and undefeated fighter, introducing the problem child, Jake Paul. Cesar Chavez Jr. That's right. No, that's right. All good. That ain't gonna do it. Good. All right.
Before the fight was the early rounds could be decisive, and it is quite clear.
Continúa Julio César Chavez.
Target effort by both guys. Nothing was left in the corner. Nothing was left in the gym.
Well, Jake, how'd you feel in there?
I just felt flat, man. Not my best performance. I guess that happens in the sport. You know, you got to peak right at the right moment. You only get one night, one chance, and I messed that up, I guess. Didn't think I'd ever have to make one of these videos, but it happens, I guess. This is still the best job in the world. Thank you all for the support. This was an amazing event, and I'll be back. No worries.
Feel Jake, I know there was a lot of talk about him with the power. You took his shots pretty well.
Yeah, no, his power wasn't that crazy. He just had good combinations, yeah. But Anderson and Tyron hit really hard, so I was used to that.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Boxing, man. You got to take it on the chin, but it was good. Some good moments in there. I just really couldn't get my game plan working. But hey, man, this is what the sport's all about. You win some in glorious fashion, and you lose some. And like I said out there, judging about my losses, because I'll be back. You know, I think he was just really well prepared, and I think it was more.
With the highly anticipated showdown between Jake Paul and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. just days away, DAZN Boxing has released an exclusive feature on the duo, including direct interviews with special guests, heightening expectations for the fight. Among those sharing their insights was Sarukian, who expressed fascination with 28-year-old Jake Paul. He called Paul a legend for starting boxing so late and still performing well, emphasizing that showing good boxing skills at that stage isn't easy. Sarukian was particularly impressed by Paul's desire to prove everyone wrong. The UFC fighter also noted Jake's impressive agility and mobility despite his size. "I'm surprised how big he is. He's so big and hits so hard," Sarukian said, adding that Paul moves like a seasoned boxer. He believes Paul is well prepared for the fight and predicts he will emerge victorious. Looking at the statistics, betting on Jake Paul over Chavez Jr. might seem unlikely. However, considering Chavez's recent performances and development, some argue that Paul has a real shot. Notably, boxing legend and icon Arman Sarukian isn't the only one favoring Paul. Recently, Oscar de la Hoya, a six-division world champion and a prominent figure in combat sports, shared a surprising prediction that surprised many. De la Hoya, who is also the director of Golden Boy Promotions, will be closely watching the Paul vs. Chavez Jr. fight, especially since two of his fighters Gilberto Ramirez and Floyd Schofield are on the undercard. The event is co-promoted by Golden Boy Promotions, which added some extra excitement. To give his predictions, De La Hoya took off his robe and made his forecasts in his underwear, true to Golden Boy style. He favored Raul Curiel, Floyd Schofield, and Zordo Ramirez for the undercard fights. When it came to the main event, De La Hoya predicted that Jake Paul would win via split decision in the 12th round, declaring Paul as the favorite. As fight week approached, the matchup between the social media star turned boxer and former middleweight champion Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. drew even more attention. This fight marks Paul's second consecutive bout against a former world champion, following his November victory over 58-year-old Mike Tyson. Chavez, who is 39, is still relatively young but more than a decade removed from his prime. During his career, Chavez often struggled with controversy and personal issues, and even at his peak, he never quite matched the legendary legacy of his father. Chavez Jr. has been outspoken about his opinion of Paul. At the final press conference, he said, "No, I don't think he's good. I think he trains hard, but he's not a good fighter." He added, "If he were truly a good boxer, everyone on this stage would be a legend. I don't think he's a good boxer, and everyone knows that this makes Chavez Jr. an interesting opponent for Paul. An aging fighter past his prime but with undeniable name recognition and boxing experience. Historically, Paul has thrived by fighting older fighters well past their glory days, and Chavez fits that pattern. Paul has built his career on defeating various opponents, from influencers like Anisun Jib to former UFC stars such as Ben Askren, Tyron Woodley, and Anderson Silva. His wins over Nate Robinson and Nate Diaz, as well as stoppages of lesser-known fighters like Andre August and Ryan Borland, have kept his momentum going. Despite some criticism regarding the level of competition, Paul has continued to draw large audiences. His fight with Tyson, while highly viewed, was somewhat uneventful, with Paul mainly outboxing Tyson and avoiding serious damage. Now, facing Chavez Jr., Paul sees a different challenge, one with genuine boxing credentials. Chavez, with his name value and boxing background, represents a different kind of test. Although past his prime, he has trained extensively and holds a championship in his past. Paul has expressed respect for Chavez, saying, "He's a great fighter. I like big names and legendary fighters. He's on my path to a world championship." Paul views this fight as a tough but necessary step toward his goal of making a serious run in boxing. Prior to the fight, Paul nearly signed a deal to face Saul Canelo Alvarez, but that plan fell through after Alvarez's team used him as leverage in negotiations. Now, Paul's focus is on Chavez Jr., which arguably presents more risk than previous opponents, given Chavez's experience and training. That's all for now. Stay tuned for the latest